So, after you retired from the classroom, teaching in the classroom, you went to Oakland University. What did you do at Oakland University?
Well, I didn't actually attend Oakland University. I was a student teacher supervisor, or student interns, they called them then. So, and it varied how many, and only for math. So if it was a student teacher, student intern in mathematics, they were placed by the university in a school, in a regular high school in the area. And my job was to go and observe them and answer certain questions about it, give them support, give them ideas, talk to them about that, but also to observe them and critique them on how they were doing. It was probably the best job in the world because I didn't have to correct papers. So that was really good. And of course, as you would expect, they came from good to poor to great to terrible. There would be a variety. And I had one out of the 3 or 4 years that I did this. I did have one that I did not pass. When I wrote up the criteria, the critique on them, I did not recommend that they get it. And he had to go back and take student teaching over again. On the other hand, I had one young man that we started supervising in September. And I think by the middle of October, I made the comment to a colleague that if, for instance, they had a math teacher in that high school that got sick, had to leave, I would okay him walking into the classroom and taking over. He was that good. Now, the interesting thing about this young man is that he had, at his church, worked with teenagers in their youth group. And he'd worked with teenagers for 3 or 4 years. So they couldn't pull much on him. And he had the quiet manner, but if he was talking about a test or going to give a test, some student might ask him, how long is it? And his answer might be 10 questions. Or what's on the test? 15 questions. He just had this great, dry sense of humor. And the kids just ate it up. They just thought it was great. And I was very pleased to find that he had been hired at the district that I retired from. And he is still there. And I'm sure one of their most outstanding teachers. The one that I had that I came as close to not recommending as I could do. Anybody who read my report would probably not have hired her for their district. She used basically the same test format on everything, the same problems, only changed a few numbers in them. I mentioned something about having something ready for me to see, and she said, well, I don't have time to do that. And it was like on a Friday. And I said, well, you have the weekend. She said, no, I don't work on the weekend on my schoolwork. That's my time. And I knew right then and there teaching was not for her. I'm sure she didn't stay in teaching. So there was the two very definite opposites. In general, most of them were well prepared. I did have one young man that I recommended he do student teaching again. He also, unfortunately, made remarks to some of the female students that I felt were inappropriate. They weren't like swearing or anything like that. They were just a little bit too personal comments to them. And if it's somebody I would not have wanted my children to have, that was always a real good criteria for me.